This time I want to talk about avoiding the mark of the beast. Have you thought about what you will do when you can no longer buy or sell without first taking the mark of the beast? Some claim that in the book of Revelation, the mark of the beast and its use for buying and selling are just some kind of symbolism. But if that were so, why does Revelation chapter 13 verse 17 specifically mention buying and selling? That verse reads, "So that no one can buy or sell except the one who has the mark, the name of the beast or the number of its name." I don't see any symbolism here. Instead, people are given one option: either take the mark of the beast that contains its name or its number. But if you don't want to take it, you won't even be able to buy food anymore. Now, after the pandemic, it's even clearer how a global authority can set rules for all countries of the world. This clearly shows that authorities can one day decide that everyone who wants to continue buying and selling must be marked with their mark. We already saw during the pandemic that this was possible. So have you thought about what you'll do then? Some believers might even take the mark of the beast to be able to continue buying food. But if you're among those who don't want to be marked with the mark of the beast, where will you get your food if you can no longer buy it without the mark of the beast? It's also good to note the Bible verses that show this will be in effect for several years and will end only with the coming of God's kingdom. Verse 5 tells how long this beast will be in power. It reads, "The beast was given a mouth to speak great words and blasphemies, and it was given authority to act for 42 months. That equals 3.5 years. After that, this old system continues for some time, because after that the United Nations is supposed to rule the world for an even shorter time according to Revelation's prophesies. So the coming new system with the beast's mark will last for several years. It's like this last pandemic, it wasn't over in a few months either. But when the beast gains power in the world, it doesn't start its operations by marking people with its mark, because that matter is mentioned only at the end of the 13th chapter. Instead, it first does what verse 6 says. It states, "It opened its mouth to blaspheme God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling place, those who live in heaven." Next, the beast forces people to worship it and its image that it is going to create for worship. By the way, the image of the beast is not the United Nations as some claim. Instead, it is literally the image of the beast. Verse 15 also says that this image will be able to speak. That's no longer a miracle now that we have artificial intelligence. In the early stages, it will still be possible to buy and sell. It will probably take months to prepare all the marks of the beast for everyone on Earth. It will likely be similar to the vaccine distribution. They weren't ready at the beginning of the pandemic either. So when the beast comes to power, we know what will soon follow according to chapter 13 of Revelation. Then the worship of the beast and its image will become mandatory, followed by marking everyone with the mark of the beast. Have you thought about how to avoid all this? How will you survive without the mark of the beast? How will you get food when you can only buy if you have the mark of the beast? Storing food for several years could be difficult or even impossible, especially if you live in the city. And how could you pay your bills while living in the city if you don't have the mark of the beast? So wouldn't it be best to try to move to the countryside and get cows and other animals and start growing your own food? Wouldn't it be good if God provided such a place to go? That's what Ezekiel chapter 38 and Revelation chapter 12 talk about. The latter telling of God's prepared place in the wilderness for God's symbolic woman who represents the congregation of believers. Someone might ask why God would allow all this to happen literally, that such a beast would come to power to rule the whole world? And that it would then be allowed to force people to worship it and its image and mark people with its mark? Doesn't it seem difficult to avoid this unless one moves to the countryside and becomes self-sufficient regarding food, and what about medicines and healthcare? Isn't it quite concerning? But God has a good reason to allow such a situation to come. This will lead to a separation between those who want to obey His word and those who want to stay in this old system. This will be the separation of the sheep from the goats. And secondly, wouldn't it be good for those who want to enter the new world to adapt to country living beforehand? Because life under God's kingdom will indeed be country life as predicted in Isaiah chapter 65 verses 21 through 25, which read, "They will build houses and live in them, and they will plant vineyards and eat their fruitage. They will not build for someone else to inhabit, nor will they plant for others to eat. For the days of my people will be like the days of a tree, and the work of their hands my chosen ones will enjoy to the full. They will not toil for nothing, nor will they bear children for distress, because they are the offspring made up of those blessed by Jehovah, and their descendants with them. Even before they call out, I will answer; while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb will feed together, the lion will eat straw just like the bull, and the serpent's food will be dust. They will do no harm nor cause any ruin in all my holy mountain, says Jehovah. The book of Revelation is very clear that we should at any cost avoid taking the mark of the beast that has its name or number. It warns about it not only in Revelation chapter 13. Chapter 14, verses 9 through 12 warn, if anyone worships the wild beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink of the wine of the anger of God that is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the sight of the holy angels and in the sight of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and day and night they have no rest, those who worship the wild beast and its image and whoever receives the mark of its name. Here is where it calls for endurance on the part of the holy ones, those who keep the commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus. Furthermore, chapters 15, 16, 19, and 20 also mention the mark of the beast. In total, Revelation refers to the mark of the beast and the worship of its image in 6 different chapters. So it is a very serious matter that should not be dismissed or considered merely symbolic. This will indeed become that hour of trial that is to come upon the whole inhabited earth to test those dwelling on the earth, which our Lord Jesus spoke about in Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. I hope you gained more clarity about what lies ahead of us, so that we could prepare mentally for what's coming and be ready to take necessary actions in time to avoid unnecessary difficulties. And if you want to get more interesting explanations of the Bible, check out my other videos on this channel.